For instance, for me, you already know what's going on. It's all over the news, the dirt sheets, whatever you want to call them, that I pulled out of WrestleMania. And it's funny because, like, for years now, man, years, people are like, don't show up to WrestleMania. We don't want you in it. You know what I mean? There's like a nice handful of dudes and haters that didn't want me there. But the moment I make a choice for me and my family, I'm a coward, I'm a sissy, a lot of, you know what I mean? A lot of different things that I am now. But you don't know the whole story. All you know is what you think. Oh, well, his health and this and that, but you don't know what else is going on in my life. You don't know if I have newborns. You don't know if I have family in my household, older family. So yeah, I mean, just like the old saying, man, go and flip that cover open and read a few pages. Get into a few chapters before you really start running your mouth. And just take this time to better yourself, be present, and make the most out of this. Because if we can't grow in a time like this, I don't think we have a chance, man. This is the most downtime I've ever seen in my life. So I just challenge everybody, and I'm taking the steps right there with you. I'm not perfect. I'm a hater too sometimes, you know what I mean? But I try to always put it in perspective of why I want something or why I might be jealous of something, and then I put it in my grind. I put it to work. I figure out how I can get whatever I need or I want, and I put it to work, and I don't focus on others hating on me, and I don't put focus on driving negativity to anybody else. So, man, if we can.
Delete! This is mine.
Alive with it. People still Pro Wrestling Sheet is reporting that Roman Reigns has pulled out of WrestleMania. Reigns reportedly told officials that he did not feel comfortable doing the show at the Performance Center during the epidemic that is sweeping across the globe. Reigns' immune system is compromised due to his battle with leukemia, and he did not want to take the risk. Great. I am not disagreeing at all with that statement. Throwing that out there right now. If you recall, 2 weeks ago, Reigns expressed concern even before WWE announced the move for WrestleMania into the Performance Center when he liked a tweet from a fan suggesting for him to pull out of the event because of his weakened immune system. WWE is taking every precaution possible to make sure that their performers are not exposed to the virus. Obviously, anyone with underlying health issues or anyone at an advanced age has a higher risk of serious complications if they are exposed to the virus. This is clearly not stopping Vince McMahon from sitting at the helm at 74 years old. Vince McMahon is the only one at this juncture who wants the show to go on as planned, Plan B, at the Performance Center. Fightful Select reports that WWE staff were told on the first day of WrestleMania 36's shooting that Roman Reigns was not coming. Now, Sean Ross Sapp goes on and says this, and I quote, "We've been told that much of the crew involved found out that Roman Reigns wouldn't be participating on Wednesday. Dave Meltzer is reporting that multiple people have pulled out. The names have been kept confidential because very few people in the company know what is going on, but the card has changed and more details will be revealed soon." I have another one of those major names here today. Some people that were scheduled to be on the card said they were sick, which means that they would instantly be pulled off the show. Whether they were really sick or not, I don't know. You don't know. Roman Reigns could have easily used his leukemia and his weakened immune system as a way to stand up for everybody else that might not be able to, and used his leverage to protect the entire locker room. Because if one other individual on that locker room, someone that's not really looked at in the eyes of management as being someone like Roman Reigns, stepped up and said something about they don't want WrestleMania to go on as scheduled, they would rather it be postponed. I don't want to be here during this time and risk such illness to not only me, but everybody else. Maybe Roman Reigns used his stance to stand up for the rest of the locker room, which we will discuss in a little bit. So WWE has been taking precaution with everybody, and if they were sick, they would instantly be pulled off the show. There were others who did not feel sick, but had fevers above 100.4, which disqualifies them from stepping into the Performance Center. And this is per WWE's policy of minimizing the performer's risk of being exposed to the virus. WrestleMania tapings were held over the last 24 hours on Wednesday and Thursday. There's no word yet on what the alternative plans are in place if wrestlers had pulled out of the show. It was reported earlier that Roman Reigns is out of WrestleMania 36. He did not feel comfortable traveling to the show because of his history with leukemia, leaving his immune system compromised. This leaves a huge hole in the card at WrestleMania. Who will Bill Goldberg defend his Universal title against at this year's WrestleMania? According to a tweet from WrestleVotes, it could be looked at that we may be looking at Braun Strowman as a replacement for Roman Reigns. They tweeted out a gif of Braun Strowman hugging Roman Reigns as soon as the news broke about Roman pulling out of WrestleMania. Now, does that mean Braun Strowman will be going up against Goldberg at WrestleMania? It sure seems like that was the intention of WrestleVotes' tweet. I will have my say on that in a little bit. Do I like it? Fuck no! I think that is the worst of the options. That just shows the level of zero creativity within the WWE. And if you are one of those people who are advocating for Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania, you may be the dumbest fuck I have seen dwell on social media. Goldberg couldn't even get Bray Wyatt up in a jackhammer. You're expecting this guy to attempt a jackhammer on Braun Strowman? Give me a fucking break. This guy was winded in a match against Bray Wyatt at the last show. You're going to have him go into a match with Braun Strowman and have anything come out of that is remotely watchable? Give me a fucking break, man. Now, this tweet came just minutes after the account tweeted that there will be news. They were referencing an earlier cryptic tweet advocating for the delay of the show. Now, Roman is the leader of the locker room, and Roman is the one guy that would be looked upon if he stood up, could have any influence over this show possibly getting postponed. WrestleMania is a huge paycheck. A huge paycheck normally for these guys. How much of that paycheck they were going to be receiving, if at all, for this show? Nobody knows. I am guessing nothing. Nothing. Just the way WrestleMania was shaping up to be inside the Performance Center, and the reports of only one man wanting this thing to go on because of his own fucking selfish ways, Vince McMahon. Nobody in that locker room wanted WrestleMania to happen in its current state. Nobody. According to Meltzer and The Observer, there could be more announcements of match changes in the coming days due to people not wanting to travel in for the show. Then there was a news article that broke this morning, Friday. One of the names outside of Roman Reigns that is not going to be on WrestleMania is The Miz. That is one of the other major names. The Miz, a major name? Yeah, right. Never. Now, outside of that little joke, now I know this is not a laughing matter, but I find The Miz being a major superstar quite laughable. The Miz is supposed to defend the titles with John Morrison on the show against either the New Day or the Usos. I didn't think that match needed to be on the show at all, honestly. But here we are. He was in Orlando this week, as reported on Wrestling Observer Radio. Miz is now being reported as sick, and he was pulled off the show as a precaution. Anyone who shows signs of illness is not allowed in the Performance Center. Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that the Usos were upset when they found out The Miz was sick. This is what prompted Roman Reigns to pull out of the show. Roman Reigns pulled out of the show after he found out the Usos were upset when they found out The Miz was ill, quote unquote. This is the latest on Roman Reigns pulling out of WrestleMania 36, his match with Goldberg seemingly canceled, and the other major names are starting to be revealed as the day goes on. The Miz and now the Usos more than likely will not be on WrestleMania's card. Now, as far as everything goes, there's still a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about what I look at when I see this situation. We're going to talk about why I think the majority of the roster, when it was reported by WrestleVotes, when they said the majority of the roster did not want the show to happen, they would rather it be postponed for other reasons. Various reasons, obvious reasons. I believe everything about that report. And what I would do as far as a replacement for Roman Reigns against Bill Goldberg. You know, it was because of my opinion on the Roman Reigns story last night and him pulling out of WrestleMania. With one tweet, I offered my opinion on the situation, and I was met with death threats. I was met with people who wanted me to perish. I was met with people who wanted me to die so badly that they wanted to rejoice at my funeral, some of which I honestly think everybody is a raving lunatic. I was wished the virus about 9 different times in the span of an hour. Now, I don't know what that says about the individual or individuals on the other side of the computer screen, on the other side of the keyboard. You know, that says a lot about somebody who wishes death on someone that they genuinely don't know in real life. All because I was bringing different variables and viewpoints, which are absolutely plausible in this situation, to anyone who wants to use their brain. I am one who does not like to go the simplistic route. I like to offer other viewpoints. And more importantly, my view is based off a scripted television program. And here I am receiving death threats of all sorts because of my view on pro wrestling. I was one of the first ones, as soon as WrestleMania was moved into the Performance Center, I was one of the first ones who said, postpone it. Move it into Madison Square Garden in June, I said. I did some research, found out that WWE had an open pay-per-view spot in June. I thought it would be easy. I am looking at this a little bit more optimistically and think the economy will be back to normal by June. When things hopefully get a lot better, I think this would be a right time to do it. Plus, MSG would welcome WWE and WrestleMania with open arms. And WrestleMania could go off inside a historic building the way that it's meant to go off. Now, yes, that's a perfect world. I was met with people saying, stop neglecting the virus. The country will not be back to work by June. Show will not be able to take place by that time. Making me out to be a crazy lunatic for thinking that the world is going to get back to normal and not wanting the economy to be completely shit. I don't know how the government is going to expect there to be any type of economy at all if we are out of work from now until June. The economy will cease to exist. That's another story. I wish WWE would have abandoned everything they did during this WrestleMania season, except Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, Edge versus Randy Orton, which in my eyes has been the only thing WrestleMania worthy, and you can maybe make a case for John Cena and Bray Wyatt. You look at everything else on that card, and it's very easy to say, wash it all away and start over. The audience would understand, you would understand, I would understand, and honestly, I think everybody would embrace the fact that WWE did the right thing and followed every other major sports organization and shut things down temporarily. It would also give the company another shot to do WrestleMania season the right way, because it's been embarrassing to watch, and WrestleMania season honestly gets worse and worse every single year, with WrestleMania being the worst show, quality-wise, all year that WWE puts on. WWE has produced live television in a way that it has never intended to produce live television. They didn't embrace it. They didn't have fun with the difference the virus was making in their normal way they go about things. They didn't try anything new. And the shows in the empty arenas exposed WWE's product for being truly awful. Like I said, it has been for years. Everything from scripted announce teams, terrible dialogue, WWE Network reruns that had nothing to do with the current WrestleMania build, simply to fill television time. They refused to use any creativity whatsoever, and they used their entire roster in minimum quantities week to week to continue the road to WrestleMania as if nothing was going on. The shows were not producing. Everyone started looking at the WWE as pathetic because they refused to do the right thing and follow every other major sport in the world and just stop. Just stop temporarily for a little bit. Nobody would fault them. Money at this point was taking precedence over health of the roster, and the fans, not only who paid to be at this event in Tampa originally, some of which would have been there for the first time, some of which have reached out to me. It would have been your first WrestleMania and how upset you were. But the fans sitting at home who felt WWE wasn't listening to them and continued to stroll along without a care in the world as long as their half-assed Plan B version of WrestleMania was produced. WrestleVotes tweeted out approximately 1 week ago that the majority of the WWE roster did not want to perform at this incarnation of WrestleMania and would have rather seen the show get postponed. Not canceled, postponed. That is a very, very important line in the story. Not canceled, postponed. The virus will still be around even when things get back to normal. So what does Roman Reigns' leukemia have to do with anything? If Roman Reigns is compromised now, he would have been compromised then. It's not going to magically go away. 1 week ago, the virus in the United States was trending the same as in Europe, and I think anyone with their brain could have predicted that since last week, we all foreseen what was going to happen as far as its deadly nature. I believed this story. I believe this story outside of the virus. Why wouldn't the majority of the roster want this show to be postponed? Randy Orton and Edge. This is the best storyline going on WWE TV right now. Edge made his return in the Royal Rumble after being away for 9 years. Did Edge want to come back after 9 years, after writing the final chapter of his career his way? Did he want to wrestle in front of nobody after 9 years? Now, Edge said that WrestleMania is a very important show and we must go on with the show because it's important to everybody. What do you expect Edge to say? What do you expect him to say? Do you expect Edge to come out and say, well, I don't think WrestleMania should go on in this current state. I think it should be postponed. I don't think Vince McMahon should be putting on the show inside the Performance Center. Is that what you expected Edge to say? What do you think Edge thinks about when looking at an empty Performance Center? I came back for this. It might be important to him, but you know his whole heart is not going to be filled wrestling in an empty Performance Center after 9 years for the first time in 9 years. Give me a break. Undertaker and AJ Styles. Never mind the Undertaker's age, which he falls in line with the age that is going to be easily compromised because of the virus. That has nothing to do with what I'm trying to make here. Well, the point I'm trying to make, Undertaker and AJ Styles, which is a first-time ever match, a fantasy match for a lot of different people. You want that fantasy match to happen inside an empty Performance Center? Now, granted, we got a boneyard stipulation. Nobody knows what the fuck that means. But they're going about this in a cinematic way, according to rumors. But still, this is WWE's other option taking these two out of a stadium filled with 80,000 people and now wrestling amongst nobody. Wrestling proverbially on a set with fake tombstones, dirt, and other gimmicks to try and sell this as a first-time ever contest. Do you think both of these guys envision this first-time ever match in front of no people, both wrestling on a mound of dirt? I don't think so. Drew McIntyre. If there's anybody outside Edge I feel sorry for, it's Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre winning his first WWE Championship at WrestleMania in his first main event at WrestleMania in front of no fans. You think Drew McIntyre got fired by WWE to go to Impact Wrestling to make a name for himself over there, to come back, quote-unquote, home, bust his ass, get buried, show that he's fucking strong-willed and able to carry all the burden that it is to be a WWE superstar, to finally get this spot and wrestle in front of no fans? I don't think so. I don't think so. Is Drew McIntyre one of the guys that probably wanted this to be postponed? 100%. 100%. They can spin it. Edge can spin it. Randy Orton can spin it. Any way that they want. You know deep down that these guys could not do anything about it, and they didn't want this show to go off as Vince McMahon seen it with this plan B. Something as little as Otis and Mandy and the payoff there, which 100% of that storyline resides in the fans. It would be a first WrestleMania moment for Otis. It would be a first WrestleMania moment for Mandy Rose. And that storyline completely hindered on the fan interaction and the reaction of the fans towards Otis finally getting one over Dolph Ziggler and Otis finally getting the beautiful blonde and having a happy ever after. Imagine that. Something as little as Otis and Mandy and the payoff there, which in my eyes has been the best storyline going on SmackDown Live. Roman Reigns winning the Universal Championship once again. Believe it or not, your boy Joe Anoa'i wanted to win the Universal Championship. He said so in his promo. Why shouldn't I main event WrestleMania? I'm taking back what is mine. I'm taking back what I have never lost. Roman Reigns winning the Universal Championship once again in a marquee match that WWE was building up as a epic clash. After all the work WWE did to keep him out of the top spot, to keep him out of the spotlight, Roman Reigns wrestled fucking Baron Corbin for 7 months so that he could be suppressed away from the top spot on SmackDown, winning the Universal Championship in front of no fans. Do you not think Roman thought about the fact of working all these months against Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode, doing nothing, biding his time to finally get back into the good graces of the fans that once disliked him, only to have the ultimate payoff and crowning moment in front of, you guessed it, no fans. No wrestler in this business, aspiring or a veteran, like Randy Orton, The Undertaker, Edge, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, wants to wrestle at the biggest pro wrestling show in the industry in front of 0 fans. No athlete in this world, period, wants to play their biggest game in their biggest events if it was to be conducted in front of 0 fans. Tom Brady, LeBron James, Mike Trout, Conor McGregor, just to name a few. None of them, no matter the circumstance, the money involved for all of them and the organizations, all the organizations involved, the energy, the moments, it's what makes or breaks a game or a huge event. Don't believe the garbage when you see it on social media about, oh, no other athlete would ever do what, or something like this. They would never not perform in front of no fans. Blah, 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 blah. I seen some bullshit on social media yesterday. They absolutely would not perform in front of no fans. And the organizations would not even allow them to, even if they did. WWE is not normal. Wrestlers look forward to this payday all year round. It's what they live for in this business at this level. All year, you think they wrestle 300 days a year, being away from families, being away from their wife, their kids, their loved ones, their pets, their friends. You think they're on the road 300 days a year to wrestle in front of an empty arena mania. You think they wrestle all year round to wrestle at WrestleMania in front of no fans, which accompanies that by no payday, no merchandise, no fan interaction, no excitement, no hype, no WrestleMania moment, no energy, no life. Why would you want to be around that? Storyline payoffs? Yeah, these storylines are coming to an end, but what does it really matter if the storylines come to an end or not? There's no emotion, there's no emotional investment in anything that's going to culminate at WrestleMania. Merchandise sales, autograph signings mean extra income on top of their WrestleMania bonus, which at this point is non-existent. Vince McMahon is set to lose $20 million to $25 million on WrestleMania. You think those appearing on WrestleMania on April 4 and April 5 are going to get WrestleMania bonuses? If they do, it's very little. Why would they want to show up? Why would they want to show up? And then you got the cherry on top of the cake, which is the epidemic going on. So not only are you risking your health, but you're also not getting what you worked for all year round. Many of the WWE roster have close friends and colleagues, students possibly, that they've trained working an event that's piggybacking off of WrestleMania. You don't think those WWE roster members who are in close connection with those people down on the indies, whether it's a promoter or a certain wrestler or a possible student of theirs, you don't think the WWE roster feels bad that they will be directly affected by WWE continuing on WrestleMania in this closed space capacity? Kevin Owens came out and outwardly defended WrestleCon, saying that he got his first break in the business working for the fine people that conduct WrestleCon every single year. He stood up for them. You don't think WWE's roster is like Kevin Owens, who directly want the indies to flourish as well? Because without the indies nowadays, the WWE has nobody to fucking hoard and sign to a WWE contract. Without the indies, the WWE wouldn't have 60% of its fucking roster. Probably more. So that's another variable there on why the roster, the majority of the roster, did not want WrestleMania to go on as planned, okay? And there's no way you can refute anything I said there. So please explain to me where I am wrong. I'm not. Roman Reigns has walked out of WrestleMania and refused to work Goldberg for the Universal title, and this was revealed Thursday night by various sources in the community. It was stated that WWE crew was informed on Wednesday during the first day of WrestleMania filming. People have criticized me for my line of thinking, but is it not relative to the entire conversation? Of course it is. Did Roman Reigns refuse to work WrestleMania because of his highly compromised immune system? Absolutely! I am not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with any of you, as I am sure that was the ultimate deciding factor. But certain things do not line up with me. This is why I'm here to offer variables and different viewpoints. It's not always what is the blatantly obvious. Now, it seems to me people are not using logic unless something else changed his mind. Roman Reigns was at SmackDown on Fox, live, inside the Performance Center in the ring, face-to-face with Bill Goldberg during a contract signing that ended the show. SmackDown then taped 2 more shows the very next day, according to reports, which I'm assuming included Roman Reigns on the show. We will see whether that's true or not tonight. And then we got the go-home show, which again, we will see if Roman is involved or not next week. That is to be believed that Roman was a part of those shows. Now, we don't know for sure. Now, we don't know until we watch SmackDown tonight if Roman is a part of this or not. It was the same week, earlier in the week, where news came out that Rey Mysterio and Dana Brooke were sent home to be quarantined for not feeling well. to individuals who would be in the same building and in the same locker room as Roman Reigns inside the Performance Center, being that everyone is working multiple shows, multiple nights from multiple different brands. Yes, I get it. It's Raw and SmackDown, but they're all sharing the same locker room. This is not different brands and different venues. This is one house for the entire WWE roster where WrestleMania, SmackDown, Raw, and NXT are being filmed. Rey Mysterio was pulled the prior weekend and had his WrestleMania plans canceled for Andrade and the United States Championship, as Andrade was then shifted into a tag team with Angel Garza and then challenged the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team titles. Dana Brooke was pulled out of the six-pack challenge, and no replacement for Dana Brooke was revealed. Roman still opted to come to work on Friday, work SmackDown, even with the slightest of possibilities that the roster could start falling like dominoes, with Mysterio and Dana Brooke being the first two. Mysterio wrestled Andrade the week prior, not knowing if he was ill at all. Andrade teamed with Garza, who Andrade, like I mentioned, worked with Rey. Andrade teamed with Garza. They worked Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, who came in contact with whoever came after that, so on and so forth. We won't know anything until SmackDown airs tonight. Just please keep that in mind. But it is being reported that 4 other major names, other major stars, refused to work the show as well, citing conditions of being quote-unquote sick. Who these stars are, I have no idea. I mentioned The Miz and I mentioned the Usos earlier in the report. I am sure Roman is still taking some type of medication from his previous cancer treatments. I would assume. Don't know that for sure, but I would assume. His immune system isn't one to take a chance with any of that. Another contributing factor has to be talked about, which is Roman Reigns being a leader in the WWE locker room. This morning, it was revealed that The Miz worked Friday night and then came down with a quote-unquote sickness. It has not been revealed if it was the virus or not. This reportedly angered the Usos, who felt perhaps they had been compromised by The Miz showing up to work Friday, which could have compromised any number of wrestlers who had filmed on Saturday's tapings for the next 2 weeks. If The Miz was in the ring and feeling ill, it is said that the virus stays on surfaces for 3 to 4 days. So The Miz feeling ill, he was sent home. The Usos were upset about this, which could have compromised any number of wrestlers who had filmed on Saturday's tapings for the next 2 weeks and at WrestleMania. With his family upset, surely Roman also thought about the locker room. No question he thought about the locker room. Now, 2 weeks ago, they were begging for WrestleMania to be postponed so they could do it the right way. And they could benefit some from working all year. And how he is in a unique position as a top guy in WWE's eyes and the wrestler's eyes to make a stand. Again, of course, his immune system and the potential ramifications of him getting infected with the virus is the top priority. I am not disagreeing with you guys. But like anyone with a serious immune condition, this is a baseline concern, a simplistic concern, a very simplistic approach where you have to take all the cautions against or precautions against. I am sure Roman has done this, but it hasn't stopped him from coming out last Friday and being in the ring with Goldberg despite potential health concerns. Besides the number one priority of his health is also his concern for the Usos, his own family. The chorus of those in the locker room wanting it to be postponed for obvious reasons that I previously mentioned in this podcast, and finally culminating in him pulling out of the match with Goldberg. I am sure he knew that if he pulled out, other top stars would follow suit, and maybe if they all banded together, they would have a better shot at getting WWE to acquiesce to their fans and their superstars. Knowing WWE, I don't think that is the case, and we will probably see the most watered down and most underwhelming WrestleMania that the company has ever produced. I admire Roman for making the tough call and feel he was in a position that he was best placed to do so. He could use his health as a determining factor, but also cause shockwaves through the WWE. Frankly, I'm surprised it took this long for this news and information to leak to us. I'm surprised no one talked about this until last night. We'll have to see tonight how the card has changed from what has been shown on NXT and Raw this week. Yes, Roman's leukemia is the determining factor. But if Roman is standing, I'm telling you right now, and I mean this wholeheartedly, if Roman and any of his mentality going into this is to back up the locker room, knowing that he's heard all the cries and the whimpers and the complaints as well about them not wanting WrestleMania to go on. If at all part of his reasoning is not only his leukemia, which I'm sure is the number one reason, but also the care and love that he has for his locker room, knowing that this is not what they expected and they wish Vince McMahon would honor their request and postpone the show, looking out for them. If any of Roman's reason is to back up that locker room and defend them to the death like he has, causing him to back out of WrestleMania this year, I will have the utmost respect for Roman Reigns moving forward. I know Roman Reigns is a Joe Anoa'i. I know he is a very good-hearted individual, and if that is the reason on top of his own personal reasons, and he thrusted himself into that position as the fallback guy, knowing that if he stood up, maybe everybody else would follow suit. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Roman Reigns, Joseph Anoa'i. This is a situation that I was not surprised when this happened. I was not. I knew something was going to happen, not at this level, and I am not surprised that it ended up being Roman Reigns. Now, what is WWE going to do as far as Roman Reigns and his replacement? This is very easy, folks. This is very easy, and the answer does not lie in Braun Strowman. The answer is not Braun fucking Strowman. You could not sell me ever on Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg for the Universal Championship. Hey, what has Braun Strowman done for a Universal Championship? He lost to fucking Sami Zayn and the Intercontinental Championship. You mean to tell me that out of all of this, Braun Strowman is going to get the Universal title in this condition when the guy had not one, not two, but three different opportunities to take the fucking Universal Championship and WWE failed in creatively booking him? Now you're thinking about giving him the Universal Championship. I don't buy it. I will never buy it. Braun Strowman is an absolute fucking disaster waiting to happen as Universal Champion. So much so that someone asked me a question on social media. JD, who would you rather wrestle Goldberg at WrestleMania? Braun Strowman or Nia Jax? I would take Nia Jax over Braun Strowman in this situation. That's how much I am disgusted by Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman is also the answer to WWE's lack of creativity. That is, them just saying, you know what, we give up. Having Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania as a replacement for Roman Reigns is WWE pretty much throwing their hands up in the air, saying, you know what, I give up. I give up. What else are we going to have to deal with this WrestleMania season? Instead of using their fucking creativity, I got 3 foolproof ways WWE can turn this around and make things right. Number 1 would be Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is the easiest fucking option. Goldberg has no fucking opponent. How epic would it be, even if there's no fucking crowd in that performance center? How epic would it be if Matt Riddle came out and challenged good old Bill Goldberg and beat him with his own move to win the Universal Championship? Suck it up, Vince. Suck it up. Suck it up, old man. That is the number 1 way to get yourself out of this situation and make it make the most sense out of everything. Braun Strowman? I think not. Now, that's easy. Is WWE going to go with that? Of course not, because it makes too much sense. Number two. Bill Goldberg is without an opponent, okay? Bray Wyatt and John Cena are wrestling at WrestleMania. Don't know how the match is going to come off. Don't know what type of match it will be. All WWE has to do is make John Cena versus Bray Wyatt a number 1 contender match. Now, all of a sudden, John Cena's chase for number 17 has magically reappeared. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt for number 1 contendership. The winner of that match fights Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania in the same night. Have Bray Wyatt beat John Cena. Have Bray Wyatt challenge Bill Goldberg again for the Universal Championship and have Bray Wyatt win back the title as The Fiend in the same way that Bill Goldberg beat The Fiend a couple of weeks back in Saudi Arabia. Very simple. Goldberg squashed The Fiend gets his revenge and squashes Goldberg. And you know what? Have fun with it. It's supposed to be Roman Reigns, and more than likely Roman Reigns and The Fiend were going to end up on a collision course anyway on SmackDown. Who else would there be for Roman to fight for the Universal Championship on SmackDown? It was always going to be Bray Wyatt. So you might as well weave in Bray Wyatt into the Universal Championship match now, have him win the title back from Goldberg, and then have fun with it. Have him capture Roman Reigns. Have him feel this possession come over him, this demonic possession come over him. Have him do the nastiest things to Roman Reigns. Soon as that stipulation is announced, have WWE film a scene in the Funhouse where Roman Reigns is being dragged away by Bray Wyatt, captured by Bray Wyatt, which will lend to the story of Bray Wyatt beating John Cena and then challenging Bill Goldberg for the Universal Championship. That way you get Wyatt with the Universal title, and then you already set yourself up with a inevitable feud against Roman Reigns, where Roman could win the title back that he never lost against Bray Wyatt. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Or option 3, which I think might be the best option out of all. Why don't we, being that Keith Lee is fighting Dominik Dijakovic and Damian Priest, I believe, next week on NXT, if Keith Lee loses the North American Championship, man, that would free up Keith Lee for a WrestleMania spot. Why doesn't Keith Lee come out there and challenge Bill Goldberg? Why doesn't Keith Lee win the Universal Championship? Isn't Keith Lee the guy Roman Reigns says, I'd love to have a one-on-one match with you after their epic confrontation at the Survivor Series? Wouldn't that be great if Keith Lee wins the Universal Championship, which I heard anyway that Vince McMahon and WWE management were incredibly high on Keith Lee coming out of the Survivor Series. Why not give him the opportunity? Why not go with something new, something fresh? SmackDown could certainly use it. Keith Lee beats Bill Goldberg, and there is Keith Lee staring down Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns gets his match with Keith Lee, the one that he asked for coming out of the Survivor Series. I'm going to see you again. Nobody thought it would be after WrestleMania. Nobody thought that Keith Lee would be looking at Roman Reigns as the Universal Champion. Do something different. Be creative. Outside that, I don't know who else works. Baron Corbin? Absolutely not. There really is nobody else on SmackDown that would even make sense. Shinsuke Nakamura, I'm hearing rumblings about Shinsuke Nakamura too from the fan base. Oh, he deserves better. It doesn't make any sense. Baron Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, anybody else that's, you might be thinking, it all lands on Braun Strowman, says WrestleVotes. Awful. Awful. This WrestleMania will be the worst in the history of WWE. And they had every opportunity to cancel it, postpone it, do whatever, hold off on it. Friday was your opportunity. That contract signing before Roman and Goldberg stepped out there was your opportunity. You didn't listen. You didn't listen to government officials. You didn't listen to the fan base. Vince McMahon did what he wanted against the cries and the complaints of his own roster. This show should not even be going on at this juncture. And like I said, if Roman and any of his reasoning has to do with him defending his roster because he knows on top of his immune system that the roster did not want to go on with this show, I will forever respect Roman Reigns as a human being and as a superstar.